Hello, welcome. It's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button and a bell below if you want to be notified as to when I upload more content, which I do on a rather ad hoc basis and also on a whole range of subjects. So I wanted to talk or expand a little bit more in relation to the total lunar eclipse that we have coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And depending on where you live in the world, it will occur with either the 15th or the 16th of May. It'll be the 16th of May here in Adelaide. And it'll be in the astrological sign of Scorpio at about 25 degrees. So it'll also be conjunct with the South Moon node, which is at 22 degrees. So eclipses, especially a lunar eclipse, will happen when the moon enters the Earth's shadow, and because of the light refraction, it will take on a red glow. So it's also being referred to as a blood moon, which I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. It will be seen in the Americas, Western Europe. Sorry, there's a cat exploring my room. Okay, so Western Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Pacific, and the Antarctic. We won't see it here in Australia. And for people in New Zealand, if you're watching, you may see what's known as the penumbral, or the really outer edge of the eclipse. And also the same if you live in Eastern Europe as well, but Australia definitely not, because it will be below, the moon will be below our horizon. Okay, so a little bit about the full moons. Start off with people who are a little bit new to the subject. So full moon occurs when the moon is on the opposite side of the Earth to the sun. And then the sun is able to illuminate the whole face of the moon from our perspective here on Earth. Because the moon's orbit is tilted by about 5 degrees when compared to the Earth's orbit, the moon actually avoids the Earth's shadow, but when an eclipse happens, that's the times when it doesn't. So as I said, it will appear red. And this is because the light of the sun refracts around the Earth. So the planet actually acts as a bit of a prism. And the light waves sort of stretch out. And as they do so, they appear red on the redder side of the spectrum. And depending on the Earth's atmosphere, if there's dust or the amount of dust, the amount of cloud cover, and also any ash from volcanic activity could determine as to how red or orange the moon actually appears when it has its eclipse. Here in Adelaide, it will commence about 11 a.m. on the 16th. It reach its fullness about 1 p.m. and will end around about 4:20 p.m. But as I said, we won't see it because it'll be below the horizon, but that does not mean that we will not feel its effects, and you may already be feeling the effects of this lunar eclipse. Now, as I've mentioned in a previous video or videos, I can't remember how many I've done on the subject now, eclipses are notorious for exposing what is hidden in the shadows. And add to this, it will be in the astrological sign of Scorpio. So let's sort of like unpack some of this and see how this will affect us on probably a more metaphysical, spiritual level. So full moons are generally an opportunity for us to let go of things that we've been holding on to that no longer serve us. And with it being a full moon in Scorpio, this means we should be letting go of things that relate to Scorpion energy, such as fears, obsession, control, either us being controlling or handing over our control, unable to control things, early psychological trauma, and realizing precisely where our passions come from, whether they propel us or whether they consume us. So these are all Scorpion sort of themes. When the moon and the sun flank the earth, this tends to reveal things that have been hidden in the dark. So emotions, psychological patterns, that sort of thing. And illuminate them again. As I said, the full moon is when all the sun's light is on the moon itself, illuminating what's in the darkness, making us a little bit more consciously aware of where we need to heal or focus, release on a deeper soul level. Now, this healing is a part of an ongoing process, and some people, like myself, refer to it as shadow work, but it's a need to sort of really get deep down and honest with ourselves, and considering that we continuously evolve and grow, we should be continuously digesting or processing our experiences so we can also spiritually grow as well. And in doing that, we consider what things that we may be hanging on to. It could be idealisms, it could be habits, fears, phobias, anything like that, and seeing whether these things are still beneficial to us, whether we need to let them go. And I find this rather interesting because at the moment I'm in probably about almost midway through a sadhana or a spiritual journey, that we are actually doing this sort of work under the sort of guidance of dark goddesses. So it's almost perfect timing for this sort of work. So during a full moon, as I said, the sun is opposite, and in this case it will be in the astrological sign of Scorpio. It'll be conjunct with the south node. Now, the south moon node is in relation to the karma that we bring through into this life. So this healing, these things that we need to let go, might not actually be or have originated in this lifetime, may have been things that we have brought through, whether down our ancestral DNA line or even from our past life. And what's interesting with past lives is it works regardless of whether we actually consciously believe in past lives ourselves. It's quite interesting that way. So when we're looking at the astrological signs, the sun is actually in Taurus, so it's opposite the moon in Scorpio. Now, both these signs relate to security. Scorpio, where the moon is in, is emotional security, while Taurus, where the sun is in, is physical security. The full moon gives us the opportunity to experience some sort of imbalance. So we are given this opportunity to reflect and remedy these imbalances, and also focus on letting go of fear, doubt, manipulation, in order to focus on bringing through more, say, passion or feeling about being secure. And there's also a saying that goes along the lines that when love endures, fear ceases to exist. So it's sort of like opening ourselves up to that unconditional love and belief in the universe that there will be protected, that we will be provided with everything that we need. In astrology, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Taurus is ruled by Venus. So this means that both planets will be working with us as we help to transform, which is Scorpio, our feelings, which is the moon, and to create, which is the sun, more harmony, which is Venus, in our life, in our experiences. Scorpio also connects us with that transformative process, as I said earlier, reminding us that we need to let go and what we need to bring with us to move forward. The rest doesn't matter anymore. However, like all things, these planets work in unison with other cosmic forces, and during this time with this full moon, there will be planetary influences of Neptune, which is in relation to intuition, Chiron, the wounded healer, our vulnerability. Pluto, transformation. Jupiter, which is all about its expansion. And Mars, where we feel energized. And I think Mercury is about to go retrograde, or it already is retrograde as well. So some of these configurations can be challenging, whereas others may be a bit more easy and smooth and supportive as we go through these changes. And at the moment, we also have Uranus in Taurus, helping to destabilize parts of our life, which is our sun, our external persona. So again, there's a lot of upheavals or loosening of things that you may already have been feeling and moving through. So the lunar eclipse is going to intensify all of this, so hang on. Scorpio is a water sign, and it's about deep water because it's ruled by Pluto, that sort of watery, subconscious deeps. This means that regardless of the aspects, you may actually feel and have these feelings more intensify, feel more deeply. And this can be very uncomfortable, and you may even feel overwhelmed if you're not sort of a touchy-feely person, if you're not used of your emotions. If you are a very emotional person, you may feel these really intensifying, so it's time to ride the waves. Remember to breathe, come back into your heart center. The full moon also amplifies things. If you're feeling tired, you may feel more extremely, there's no good English, more tired during the full moon. If you feel angry, your anger might be intensified. So it's really important for you to really observe your feelings and your tempers and your reactions to them. Again, learn to breathe, count to 4 or count to 10 before you say anything. Breathe, focus back on your breath, trying to ground yourself and move through those emotions. Remember that your experience is only your experience. No one is forcing you to feel any way in particular. Trust your intuition, but do not confuse it with paranoia. Communicate your feelings if you're able to, but try not to rely too much on logic. Don't try and overemphasize or analyze them. Know that your relationships have been directly affected by your inner fears. So these are the inner fears that we've been holding on to. So this is the time now to start looking at them, to see what you can clean away, what you can release. Often we hold on to our experiences because we believe that if we keep a record of, say, how many times we've been wronged in the past, it won't happen again. Or how many times we've been hurt, we'll never allow ourselves to be hurt again. So we're trying to keep a little bit of a scorecard. No, all this does is helps us get back into that emotional loop, going over and over through those emotions and those experiences. So it's time to tear up that scorecard, let it all go. So that's just up to the full moon. So when we add an eclipse into the mix, and this is very important, this is the crux of what I'm wanting to talk about. Details may come to light that we may not be consciously aware of, such as secrets, hidden agendas, scandalous activity, etc. And I did mention in an earlier video that I find this really interesting because a week following this eclipse, we will be having our election here in Australia. So what will be coming up to the surface in relation to our political candidates could be very interesting. But remember too that Scorpio has the sort of Venus rising from the ashes ability as well. So maybe we need to just let everything go so we can then rebuild afresh. Tackle things head on and build better than what we have been able to do before. Start from a clean slate. This eclipse is the third installment of the eclipse series that is on this Taurus-Scorpio axis, and I talked about it before. And this Taurus-Scorpio axis is running from November 2021 until October 2023. But this is the first one in relation to Scorpio. So again, as I said, it's about security, but it's also about money, sensuality, ownership, power. And these themes we're going to see repeating over and over again for the next 18 months. It's about bringing a resolution or a pivotal turning point in relation to any issues that may be sort of may have come to light during the previous Tauran solar eclipse that occurred on the 30th of April or the 1st of May here in South Australia, as well as what happened at the Scorpio new moon back in November last year. So we are, I suppose basically in summary, being asked to look beyond the surface of our lives, be aware that our emotions are going to be intensified, look at the truths that are lying beneath what we're being told, and be prepared to transform, because Scorpio is all about transformation and letting things go. So to get through this full moon, as I mentioned earlier, be aware of emotional swings, heightened emotional outbursts. Try and practice mindfulness or the fourfold breath, focusing back onto your heart center, calming yourself down. Attempt to stay as present as you can. Remember that most of the discomfort arises only as a result of the past or a fear of the future. And you can't change the past. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Anything could happen. So it's an opportunity to deal with any discomfort head on. Let go of any emotional or physical attachments that no longer are serving us, or vices that we know are not healthy for us. Whether it's a belief, an addiction, anything like that. It could even be a relationship. This is the time to get rid of all those things that no longer serve us. You may want to make a list of where you are employing fear, attempting to control situations or other people in your life, or even refusing responsibility, control. Areas where you feel that you've lost control even. Make a list of these areas. Write them down on a piece of paper and see if you can find out a reason why you're doing this. Are there any patterns? And if there are patterns, are they actually stemming from an element of fear? So this is a little bit of a self-exploration, self-discovery. Again, as I said, it's a little bit like shadow work. It's just trying to understand, cats just running circles, while we're doing things. And when you've got your list, feel free to burn it, rip it up, each thing that you've written down, write it and rip it up into tiny little pieces and burn each piece, or rub it up, rip it up and scrunch it up and throw it in the bin, outside bin. Don't keep it inside the house. It'd be great to do this just before bin day, so it can be taken away with all the rubbish. If you're burning it, you might want to say something like, I release me. I release this from me, that whatever the fear is. I tend to, if I'm releasing something on a subconscious level, bring something in. Bring in peace, bring in harmony, bring in groundedness, happiness, whatever, abundance. You may also feel a need to take a bath, something like with Epsom salts, which is really good cleansing. Helps to get rid of the negative residue. The cat's just on the opposite chair. I don't know what I'm doing. Go for a walk along the beach. It's a bit too cold now to go swimming. Go somewhere where the wind's blowing to get the cobwebs blown out. If you're into physical activity, you might want to go for a run, a jog, something like that, that brings you that sense of achievement, or even just light a few candles and meditate on accepting healing, allowing the healing to come in, allowing unconditional love to come in, happiness and peace. And don't forget to breathe. Remember that eclipse energy, you're probably already beginning to feel its effects if you're a very sensitive person, or some of these things might be already beginning to bubble up. So that's just a few little pointers. This could be a little bit rocky. You may be experiencing emotions and feelings that you haven't done before. That's okay. We will get through this. So I will see you on the other side of the eclipse, if not before. Blessings.